From a very young age, I've always been aware of certain social inequalities existing in day-to-day life. At primary school, the boys would be considered cool and fun, where the girls were annoying and basic, and to even be considered on the same level as the boys, we had to climb this impossible ladder. Even though this was so apparent, and it didn't make any sense to me at all, I never thought to question why that was the case. When I was 8, my stepbrother and I would go out every evening and play on the street with all the kids that lived in the same area as us. Without fail, I would be called inside to help set the table, I'd clean up the dishes after dinner, while my stepbrother got to stay outside and keep playing. And so one evening, when I was called inside to help set the table again, I asked my dad, how come I have to come inside and do this while my stepbrother gets to stay outside and play with all the kids? My dad said to me, well, that's because he's a boy and you're a girl. When you're 8 years old, you take everything your parents say as gospel. So that's what I did. I was a girl, my stepbrother was a boy, and that was the inherent difference between why I had to clean and why he didn't. I never thought to question why was that good enough, so that was the logic I applied in pretty much every facet of my life. If we flash forward a few years to when I was 16 years old, I was introduced to feminist theory in my English extension class. The idea that I could actually challenge these ideals that had just been handed to me was completely shocking, but at the same time, so rewarding. I loved it. There's a book from that time that's been really instrumental in shaping my understanding of feminism as it is today, and that is Clementine Ford's Fight Like a Girl. On literally the second page of that book, she says, domestic chores were handed down to my sister and me, while our brother was given leave to play and explore. Our femaleness apparently carrying with it a greater capacity for cleaning things. I don't think I need to understand just why that quote resonated with me so much. Reading that was like holding up a mirror to my own life experiences and just not only inviting the question why, but also the question of why is that good enough? And that, I think, is what sort of sparked this fire in me to pursue this feminism further into my studies and potentially my career. I didn't know how I was going to do this. I didn't even start this degree with the intention of doing that at all. But little things would pop up here and there throughout the course of my degree so far that would allow me to deepen my love for feminism or look deeper into the theory of it. And doing the thinking for this assignment was what made me realise that if you want something bad enough and if you believe in something enough, you'll make it happen. You'll make it central to your life. And I think that's what I've found has happened with me with feminism. So currently I'm studying a Bachelor of Communications with a major in digital media. One of the subjects I'm doing this semester is called Social Media, Self and Society, and it sort of frames feminism in the context of digital spaces. A survey from 2017 in the US found that women were much more likely to be subjected to gender-based and sexual harassment online, with 21% of women aged 18 to 29 having reported being sexually harassed online compared to 9% of men. Social media, self and society sort of allows me to look at how those inequalities, as I mentioned before, with gender, operate in online spaces, and not just gender, but sexuality, race, class, and all of those sorts of things, and how social media structures perpetuate these inequalities. One of the readings that we had in week 4 was particularly interesting to me as it discussed dynamics that I've always noticed, but I've never been able to quite put my finger on, and that is how misogyny is enabled online through geek culture. The article itself uses Reddit as an example, and even though I don't have a Reddit account, I can sort of use that as a lens to look at all the other platforms that I do use and my own experiences and what I've witnessed with misogyny on there. It also brings up entirely new concepts to me, such as geek masculinity, which outlines how people who identify with geek culture often feel marginalised despite their immense cultural and intellectual capital, and they use that marginalised feeling to justify their often hostile and misogynistic behaviour. That was a concept that I found ridiculously interesting, and that's one that I really want to take further as I see versions of that online across every single platform I use every day. In future, I hope to be able to pursue these concepts in communications research. I'd love to be able to contribute to feminist literature, as the critical thinking it facilitates is so rewarding to me. That said, I am a white cis-het woman. I don't want to detract from the contributions of women of colour and women that are members of the LGBTQ+ community. So I think where my skill set would best be put to work would be in exploring anti-feminist subcultures. So if we're looking at subreddits r/MGTOW, which stands for Men Going Their Own Way, or r/Red Pill, these have sort of risen as a counter to the feminist movement, and the members of these groups are very similar to the concept of geek masculinity that I described before. They're also very anti-woman, especially in the case of r/MGTOW, where they pretty much suggest that a man in a heterosexual relationship has lost what makes him a man. I know that's a really extreme example, but I want to explore the motivations behind why people join these groups and how digital platforms enable these groups to form in the first place. Whether or not I actually end up in research, who knows, but I know that I will be taking my love of feminism with me. I'll take every opportunity I can to bring it to the forefront of whatever I'm doing, because I strongly believe in it and I want to make it a reality.